Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of TEDXcellence, the show where we reach for the stars, even if they're already on the ground. I have no idea what that means. But I come to you live from Crater Valley on the moon with Dogcat Fox, a blue monster. And all of you, good evening, everyone. Welcome again to Thursday. Terrestrial Thursday. Yes, we return once again to the wonderful world of off-brand TED Talks. Except tonight, it's an actual TED Talk. Oh my gosh. Shock of shock, horror of horrors. An actual TED Talk. Why, oh why, Delilah, did I go for an actual TED Talk tonight? Well, I'll talk about that in a moment. But first, who's joining me on this beautiful Thursday evening? Keeverdam was first. Keeverdam. Hi, Keeverdam. And thank you, Keeverdam, as always, guys. At the top of the chat box, there is a link up there to the GoFundMe to help out our friend Truckin' with a Tablet. He just needs some help with some medical expenses. His goal is $700. It's a very modest goal as far as things go. So if you can donate, please take a look at that and donate if you can. If you can't donate, that's fine. But if you can share that out on social media, that would be appreciated. So thank you ahead of time for that. And thank you, Keeverdam, as always, for providing the link. Advocatus Diaboli, good evening. Mike R., hello. Adam Nixon, hello. Captain JPS, hello. Who else is here? Alexander the Scourge, good evening. Jay Blizza. Evening Scribe and all. My copy of Kurosawa's early film showed up this evening, so got to watch. I got to watch The Men Who Tread on the Tiger's Tail. For only an hour long, it was pretty good. Well, I mean, you could do worse than Kurosawa. Just saying. Have you watched High and Low yet? Or Ron? Or as when I was a kid and saw it in the video store, it was like, ran? Where did they ran to? Anyway. Who else is here? Noah Sencio. Good evening. And Spoonie the Useless Cook. Hello. Attack Alpaca. Hello. Derek LaRue. Oh my gosh, Derek. Thank you so much, Derek. Once again, for your continued support and generosity. Thank you so very much. Hope you're having a good evening. And hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you. Blitz0590. Good evening. And Alabay of Colorado. Marhaba, y'all, and Blarg. Blarg? Where's Mike Savage? And Leanna Johnston, good evening. Just making my night snack. Night snack. The crime-solving snack. Now, if you get that joke, you are a true patriot. That's all I'll say. And I think that's everybody I see. If I missed you, if you're lurking, if you're in the future, good evening. What's this? And to answer Walter's question. Oh, did I miss Walter? Walter, were you in here? Did I miss you? If I missed you, it only because my aim was off. Was there a Walter Tomaszewski in here? Maybe there was, and I missed. Walter, are you here? Well, I didn't see you in the chat. So Walter, if I missed you, I apologize. But if you're out there, say hi to George and Philip for me. Oh, and Simon Willikins is here. Oh, no, he asked on a previous stream. Oh, well, pardon me for making assumptions. But anyway, everyone, good evening. Yes, welcome to TEDXcellence. The subject of tonight's show, let's build data centers in space. Why? So there's a couple of reasons. First and foremost, remember when TED Talks used to be about big ideas? You'd have somebody who was an expert in their particular field and coming up on a stage and talking about some, new discovery in this kind of science or some new take on something else, or to try to dispel some myth about some big idea in science or business or engineering or something. I also thought of, did you ever see Prometheus? There was, I don't know if it was like a promo or they did or something, but they had this whole scene, and I think it might be only fully in the director's cut or something. But way back when Prometheus came out, long, long ago, they did this scene of like a future TED Talk where Wherein from Wherein, Utah, he comes out on a stage, and the TED Talk is in a gigantic auditorium with like thousands of people, and there are little drone cameras following him around because TED Talks of the future, man. Those are like international, global, gotta be there events. That's what they thought TED Talks would be back in the early 2000s or mid 2000s. Like, oh my gosh. Yeah, that didn't happen. But that's what TED Talks were supposed to be about, oh my gosh, these earth-changing ideas and proposals. So I thought about that. So I thought about, when TED Talks were about science. And I haven't done a TED Talk on like hard science in a while. I'm trying to think of things that got close, like Chromosome Lady, or Asparagus to Fix Spinal Injuries, or NF Trees, sort of. And so I saw this and I thought, hey, what about an actual TED Talk that's about science-y stuff? Why don't I try that? Just to see what happens. But here's the other thing. I remember in the last week or month or something, and I don't know if it was a headline on an article on Twitter or the thumbnail to some video, but I saw something about data centers in space. And just the idea of it. I haven't read any articles or seen any videos about it, but just the idea of it came across my threshold in some way, shape, or form. And I remember at the time that I saw it, I thought to myself, that sounds like a stupid idea. And to preamble everything else, I am not an engineer. I am not an aerospace engineer. I am not a systems engineer. I do not know jack about squat when it comes to building real things. I'm just a layman. But in what little layman's perspective I have, when I try to conceptualize the idea of putting a data center into space, well, let's just say I have a lot of questions. And these questions, I would assume, will be answered by our speaker, who is conceivably trying to convince the world of the idea of building data centers in space. So I have a little mental list of things that I am just not sure how you would replicate what we do on Earth to make a data center work in space in a feasible fashion. My imagination hits a wall. And so obviously my lack of expertise is that wall, I think. So let's find out from our expert how, and maybe more so why, you would want to put a data center in space. So that's my curiosity for tonight and the impetus for choosing tonight's presentation. So there you go. If you needed more information, now you got it. But anyway, tonight's bingo card is bingo card B. B as in Babylon 5. Babylon 5 being the winner of the poll on X to choose your favorite space station. It was either Deep Space Nine, Babylon 5, or the Death Star, Babylon 5-1. So get out your bingo card Bs. Links are in the description below. I think that's all of the big stuff. Did I miss anybody? Did I miss anything? Oh, wait a second. Is the chat not catching up with me, or am I not catching up with the chat? One of the two. There's a Fostonian. And Malachi D. Wildman, good evening. And anybody else? Night Right. Well, you're close, Simon Willikins. It is. Night Snack, the crime-solving snack, is, after a fashion, a reference to Knight Rider, but not directly. I can't tell you why without giving it away. So, if you know, you know. If I miss somebody else giving the answer, then I don't know. Wait a second, what was in here? Asparagus to do. Okay, so you can find it in my library. You have to search my channel for it, I guess. But there was a TED Talk about using asparagus, like the asparagus tube. Like think of a piece of asparagus. Remove all of the chlorophyll, all of the green stuff, and you just have that sort of fibrous tube of almost transparent structure. Just like organic fiber in a tube. The idea was to use the asparagus tube essentially as a lattice to bridge the gap in spinal injuries and give the spinal nerves, fibers, a guidepost to regrow themselves and reconnect. And in the video, they talked about how they tried it on like lab rats and had seemingly 100% restoration of movement to legs after cutting the spinal cord. And I had Ranting Monkey on with me to watch that one, I remember, because I thought it was something like drink asparagus juice and fix your spine. I thought it was some real snake oil kind of thing. And maybe it is, I don't know, but it wasn't what I expected, and the way the guy described it sounded interesting. I don't know what came of it, but I do know that when I posted that video, it got copyright claimed. What are you gonna do? Anyway, that's all. Neither here nor there. All right, so this one clocks in at just under 12 minutes. Get your bingo card B's ready. I'll start off with a few seconds for a sound test. You guys tell me if you can hear it, and we will proceed.
This time next week, I will be at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Base, nervously awaiting the launch of our first spacecraft.
Okay, this was October of 2025. Okay, so everything's already kind of happened here. You guys hear that okay? Let me know. I'm going to turn the music down just a smidge. Just a smidge. Sounds good, says Keeverdam. Scribe, you should drink your asparagus anyways. I don't want to. It'll make you big and strong. Yeah, but it tastes bad. That means it's good for you. Wah! I'd rather drink my Blue Monster. This is not a sponsored show. Although, Monster, if you want to sponsor me, I wouldn't turn it down. You can pay me in Blue Monster.
Much about that setting will be different from this one, but there are a few things that will remain the same.
That leather jacket? Are you trying to be like the NVIDIA guy?
For example, like now, in a week's time, I will also be hoping not to crash and burn.
Well, the jury's out on that one, so proceed.
And like now, in a week's time, I will again be wearing my same lucky underpants.
What have your underpants been lucky for you in the past as far as outcomes? Is this TED Talk material?
That's not a joke. So what about the spacecraft next week makes it so special that it warrants a rare second weekly appearance of said undergarment?
I'm here for you to tell me.
It's because it will be the first time that anybody has tried to launch an AI data center to space.
Okay. Now, I'm guessing you're not talking about it all in one singular package.
More specifically, we will be the first to launch the NVIDIA H100 chip to space.
An NVIDIA H100 chip.
Which is about 100 times more powerful GPU or AI compute than has ever been in space before.
Okay. So, like I say, I'm not a space engineer. I'm not exactly a technophile, let's say. But I know a little bit about a little bit. So my grandfather was in NASA. He worked on the Apollo 11, or he worked at NASA during the time of the Apollo 11 missions. He knew some of the Mercury 7 astronauts. And, you know, just out of sentiment, I've followed along with space stuff here and there over the years, seen more than a few documentaries. They don't put really, really, really sensitive microchips and components into space normally because of radiation. Like on, if I'm not mistaken, on both the space shuttle and the International Space Station, a lot of the electronics on there are, in relative terms, archaic because they're less susceptible to damage from the radiation that is usually we're protected from because of the Earth's atmosphere, but is out in space, you know, running around unbidden. When you put really sensitive chips into space, they can degrade very quickly. I mean, you can, Maybe they have some special shielding or something now, but okay.
In fact, this spacecraft is the first step in a much larger vision to build almost all data centers in space. And
why? Okay, I'm still waiting for the basic question. Why would you want to put a data center in space in the first place?
today, I will make the case for this idea.
Okay, so I think it's a given that sales pitch for product or service is on the board. So let's go over to the bingo card real quick. And I realize this talk is kind of outside the usual parameters of our classic TEDx's, but you never know. Stranger things have happened. So I'm going to circle sales pitch for product or service and free space. It's entirely possible that this otherwise might be a very sparse bingo card tonight, but we'll find out. So bingo card B's, I have circled free space and sales pitch for product or service.
The idea that the abundant energy and cold temperatures in space will soon mean that it makes much more sense to build data centers in space than it does to build them on Earth.
Okay, and that was going to be one of my first questions, the power necessities of a data center. I'm assuming you're going to have to use solar panels. And if you're going to make it worthwhile to put this thing in space in the first place, then it has to be a relatively significant data center. And data centers need a lot of power. That's one of the concerns going on with all of the data centers being built right now for OpenAI and Google and other AI projects is the power requirements. So if you're using solar panels, you're going to need a lot of solar panels, right?
But first, why do we need more data centers?
AI, which is a bubble that is going to burst sooner rather than later.
Well, there's both a carrot and a stick. As many of the speakers have mentioned, the carrot is the promise of AI. So that's things like new treatments for cancer.
They keep saying that. They keep saying that AI will find new treatments for cancer. Have they? Will they?
Self-driving cars.
I still don't buy literally or figuratively self-driving cars.
A super intelligent companion in everybody's pocket.
No, there's a scary thought.
In order to realize the promise of AI, we will need many more new data centers and many more new energy projects to power them.
Sorry for pausing every couple of seconds here, but this is a regular TED Talk, and I just want to take this in pieces, because when I hear about an idea that sounds fishy to me, having someone talk fast or fast talking, if I can mitigate that, I try to.
So that's the carrot, but there is also a stick which people don't like to talk about as frequently.
The cost?
And that is the very real risk in being left behind by competitor nations.
Oh, okay.
This comes with very, very real national security implications for the US.
I.e. China?
So we know we need more data centers, but why not just carry on building them on?
No. That's not a case for building more data centers. I'm having flashbacks to just about every DEI talk I've ever heard. It's the promise, this will happen. Okay. A lot of money and a lot of energy has already been dumped into AI. Name one cancer that AI has already made strides in. Not necessarily curing, but made strides in treatments for. Chat disconnected. Uh-oh. My YouTube chat disconnected. Am I still live? When I see something going wrong in the chat, it's usually a red flag to me that something else is wrong. People can verify to me real quick that I'm live. I hate dead air, but at the same time, if I'm talking off into the ether, so to speak, I'd like to know it ahead of time. We're still here, you are, but now you will see this. Okay, all right, just making sure, because I don't usually see YouTube chat saying my chat disconnected unless there's like a problem. Okay, anyway, so as I was saying, what was I saying? Oh yeah, making promises. All these things will happen if only we spend more money and put more time into it. Okay, I hate to sound like a broken record, but you need to give me a success story. You need to give me the carrot. The carrot isn't, if the carrot is just a bunch of promises, that's not a carrot. Okay, that's not much of a carrot. So you've made up a reason why we need more data centers to do something we swear is going to happen if we just have more data centers. Okay.
Earth as we have been.
Sorry, let me back up a little bit. I cut them off. Don't want to lose context.
So we know we need more data centers.
Do we?
But why not just carry on building them on Earth as we have been?
Yes.
Well, some forecasts suggest that over the next just 3 years alone, we will need an additional 50 to 100 gigawatts, or 50 to 100 new nuclear power stations in just the US alone to meet the coming demand for AI.
Right. So you're going to replicate in space the amount of energy equivalent to nuclear power plants. With, again, the only option I can think of, unless you've got something else, is solar panels. And solar panels aren't very efficient in the long run, are very delicate things. And again, you would need a lot of them to equate to the amount of power necessary for a data center, if I'm getting the gist of your description.
Permitting and other constraints mean that this is not possible.
Okay. And so how is building any of this in space possible?
And this is basically leading to a dramatic rise in energy prices, and we also are sucking up rivers and reservoirs to keep these data centers cool.
Man, it almost feels like AI is not worth the price regardless.
A few weeks ago, I was invited down to Tucson, Arizona, to meet with community leaders there. Tucson recently became the first city in the US to unanimously vote to reject a new data center proposal, a gigawatt scale data center proposal in their community, primarily due to concerns about energy and water usage.
Seems fair to me.
I spoke with many members of the community. They had been shocked to find out that this new data center proposal would have put a strain on energy and water in the community that would have been a detriment for generations to come.
Then seems like open and shut case then, huh? And so your solution to this is data centers in space.
And it's not just Tucson. This is happening in towns and cities across the US and across the world.
Okay, well, let's say you had to or could meet the demand you think you need for data centers by just putting them in space. How many of these things would you need in space to make a difference?
Now, if you've ever seen a data center, you will know that they are massive.
Yes. This is what I'm talking about. Like, I've seen pictures of data centers before, and I'm looking at that, and I'm trying to imagine how in the world you would put all of that, plus a power delivery system, plus all the cooling you would need, into space and make it work.
So it can be pretty difficult to imagine what this kind of data center could look like in space. And so
Yeah.
I would like to show you a short 15-second clip of what a huge 5 gigawatt data center in space might look like.
Is this going to be a artist's representation?
So here you see a Starship-sized spacecraft, and I'll talk about this later, with a 100-ton module of chips connecting to a 5 gigawatt cluster with a 4-kilometer solar panel with a 1-kilometer radiator. And
No! 4-kilometer square solar. This is horseshit. This is utter and okay. All right. First and foremost. Wait. Okay. Okay. So, as I could only imagine. Wait. Let's back up a little. Back up a second here. Let's go back. Let's go back in the artist animation here. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So obviously this would have to be a modular build in space, section by section, somehow. Wait a sec. How are these things assembling themselves again? I'm assuming they're not piloted by people. Like, this is all being done remotely, right? Because he shows this little like shuttle thing here that just closed its little duck mouth. Hold on. I mean, again, this is the artist rendering. So I'm assuming that this little star cloud, whatever the heck it is, portion thing came out of the shuttle's mouth and is now floating over
a ship-sized spacecraft, and I'll talk about this later.
Yeah, so it's got little jets on it, so it's positioning itself to link up along this axis thing. So each one of these modules is an individual rocket launch. Each one of these modules has to align itself and install itself and link up on its own. This is a non-starter. Unless he can answer the question, how do you have? I mean, look at that. I mean, 4 kilometers? 4 kilometers square of solar panels in space, built one by one, piece by piece over time, where every individual piece has to be exactly aligned one to the other in geosynchronous orbit over months, if not years, to put this together, with all of the electronics, all of the cooling systems, linking up and connecting to each other through, I don't know, what, magic? Fairy dust or something? What? I thought my imagination hit the wall just thinking about this abstractly. Now I can't even. Kiro Soldier, thank you so much. Someone call the Tellarites and the Ferengi. Yeah. I mean, for enough gold press Latinum, I bet they could put something together that looks like that. Dexter, we need to put these people in a home. Well, somebody needs to tell them that they're... Okay, maybe he has an answer to this, or maybe he's got a confession that they haven't got it figured out yet. But... not C3PO. Remember when we were talking about ringing the Earth with SPSSs in the late 60s, solar-powered synchronous satellites? Yeah. I mean, I've seen a lot of artist renditions of things I'd like to see, aka Moonbase, but this... Okay, this is... Okay, I'm gonna back up. I'm gonna try to hold it in, because it's... 4... Just imagine, can anybody imagine for a moment 4 kilometers square of anything? Now just imagine that it's all solar panels, incrementally built in space to power a data center.
Look like. So here you see a Starship-sized spacecraft, and I'll talk about this later, with a 100-ton module of chips connecting to a 5-gigawatt cluster with a 4-kilometer solar panel with a 1-kilometer radiator. And don't worry.
Okay, I'm holding back. He says he's going to have some answers or something.
This won't block out the sun or anything.
Well, there's another reference. I swear, a 4-kilometer square in low Earth orbit won't have any effect on anything.
So, I do know this looks a little bit wacky, by the way.
I'm glad you understand that.
When we first released this video a year and a half ago as part
it's that old? Okay, I've never seen it.
of our Y Combinator launch, we got...
Oh, Y Combinator. Oh, those are the same guys that launched Sam Altman in the first place. I think the guy who runs it did. Yeah, the guy who either ran at the time or still runs Y Combinator took Sam Altman under his wing after Sam Altman had a complete failure of a company. You know, Sam Altman's never run a fully successful company before. I'm still amazed that he's kind of like the Kamala Harris of the Silicon Valley. He just keeps failing upwards somehow, and people keep liking him for some reason and giving him opportunities and access. I don't know.
Roundly pilloried from all corners.
Yeah.
I thought I would share with you a few of the more polite X comments that we got a year and a half ago.
Oh, okay. So I'm not the first one to go, what the WTF on this thing?
This got to be the dumbest shit.
Okay, well, all right. Credit where credit is due. I appreciate his candor. But the question is, how is he going to answer these obvious concerns?
This got to be the dumbest shit I ever seen or heard.
I don't know if it's the dumbest, but it's pretty dumb.
Fair enough. Each has their own opinion.
No. It's not. I mean, yes, it's an opinion, but it's a decidedly informed opinion.
I thought you nerds were supposed to be good at science.
Yeah. Okay, so how do you answer these concerns?
And just to be clear, I literally first got this message when I was inside a particle accelerator testing chips.
Okay.
Good luck trying to run an H100 in space.
Okay, yeah.
And to be honest, this is actually very generous. I really appreciate the good wishes.
It's great. Okay, but I'm assuming that you either are or are asking people to give you money to try to do this thing. So how would you answer these obvious concerns?
And my personal favorite, this will never get off the ground in a very literal sense.
Okay. Again, I mean, I appreciate his honesty. He wasn't like trying to dodge the fact that people look at this and think, duh. So now the question is, how does he defeat these criticisms?
It's true that revolutionary ideas often sound stupid.
Solar panels are not a revolutionary idea. Building a structure in space of decided complexity is not a revolutionary idea. The International Space Station is a thing. So just dismissing people as doubting Thomases is not going to be an escape for you.
At first. But sadly, it also happens to be true that most terrible ideas also often sound stupid at first.
Yes.
So how can you be certain of which camp you're in and be sure that you're not in the second camp?
Well, that's why I'm here, honestly, because I took one look at the idea, and I hadn't seen that animation before. I think I saw a picture on a thumbnail or an artist rendering on a news article or something, and that's about as close as I came to knowing anything about what a data center in space would be. I obviously didn't know the specifics at the time. But yeah, I'm watching this because I'm trying to find out, are my reflexive doubts disproven by your argument or not?
Well, it's important to reason from first principles, but it is, I mean, to be very honest, in order to know which camp you're in, most oftentimes it is going to involve taking some risk. If you don't... No. This is not a risk. Either it works or it doesn't. Is what you're proposing possible? Because here's the thing. Okay, again, not a systems engineer or anything here, but I have worked in a company for a long time now that has its own server rack. The company I work for, we maintain an off-site set of servers, like a lot of companies do, that back up and duplicate what we're doing so that if something goes wrong in one place, we have a fail-safe, and it also deals with a whole bunch of other things. I don't know how it all works, but I do know one part that is required for it to work, and that is a person to go there once in a while and maintain
broken drives or, flipped switches or other issues hands-on. For everything else that I find decidedly questionable about data centers in space, their construction in the first place, the power needs, the cooling needs, the radiation, etc. Here's the one question that I want to know. What is his solution for on-site monitoring in space?
Take some risk. You're likely not doing anything consequential.
Okay, you're dodging. You're dodging here. This is like Elizabeth Holmes trying to dissuade people's doubts about Theranos. Answer the question. How will you achieve any of this?
So for us, to know definitively if we can run an H100 in space, the best way to do that is to build a spacecraft and launch it to space. And that's exactly what we're doing with our first spacecraft launching next week.
Why not just send up an H100 in a relatively simple device to the International Space Station and let it function there for a couple of months and see how it does in just normal proceedings? But, okay, so first and foremost, you don't even know if an H100 could function in space. You're still having to test that. So the core idea of this, having highly, like cutting edge chips in space to see if they can actually survive. You haven't even proven that out yet? Okay.
So, given how controversial and audacious this idea seems to be,
there's no seams. It is.
I thought I would share a little bit of context about how this idea came about, and then share some of the pros and some of the cons.
This sounds like filler. This sounds like a dodge, but okay.
A few years ago, I quite randomly, on a weekend, decided to take a trip down to Starbase, Texas, where SpaceX is building their new Starship rocket.
That doesn't sound random. That sounds very, very specific.
This wasn't a work trip or anything. I'm just a huge space nerd, and this is my idea of a fun weekend.
Who are you, by the way? I don't even know who this guy is. Is he just a glorified enthusiast? Because it sounds like he's running a business.
The first stop on the trip is to what they call the Rocket Garden. And it was the first time I had seen the massive new Starship launch vehicle that SpaceX is building.
Is that the kind of thing you're saying is going to deliver every single module of this data center to space?
This was impressive, but to be honest, what really impressed me, besides the Texas barbecue, which is amazing.
Your little Marvel humor asides to disarm everything you say is not engendering in me a lot of confidence.
What really impressed me was that across the road from where I'm standing, behind the camera in this image, they were building then, by far the largest factory I have ever seen. They're building these 2 Starship gigafactories that are essentially, pretty similar to Tesla production lines in that they're designed such that within 2 years, they will be rolling 1 Starship per day off that production line.
Within 2 years. Elon Musk has made a lot of promises where the period on the sentence is within 2 years. Just saying. Faustonia, thank you so much. Hardware upgrades are going to be a pain in the butt. And what about all the debris that is up there? Yeah, okay. Solar panels are easily damaged. And once they're damaged, their power potential drops through the floor. Because the amount of power they generate from absorbing the light that they do isn't a one-to-one kind of thing. There's a loss there. I forget what it is. But anyway, yeah, if a solar cell gets cracked, if one tiny little micro asteroid zips its way through one of the solar panels, or hits some vital component within the data center and there's a power drop, what do you do? the thing is effectively dead unless you send someone up there to fix it. I don't think we're going to have autonomous vehicles with tiny little hands to like fix things. I mean, the whole thing's going to have to be modular, and modular to a degree that it's got to be sizable enough to be worthy of putting it into a rocket in the first place. But it's got to be small enough to a degree that if something goes wrong with it, it is feasibly replaceable with another module. I don't understand how any of this is going to work in a reasonable fashion, and I'm not convinced he does either.
This is interesting because while the launch cost with reusability might come down by 50 to 100 times.
Might. The launch cost might come down 50 to 100 times. Why? Why does the cost go down?
The launch capacity, i.e. how many tons per year you can get to space, might go up by 1,000 times or more.
Okay, so you're going to launch, and I'm just using the round numbers here that he's using. Okay, so you're going to launch 1,000 missions a year with your modular data center solar array H1000 whatever HAL 9000 chips. Okay.
And how is that possible?
I don't know. You have to answer that question.
It's because Starship is the first ever fully reusable rocket.
Yeah, but reusable is not a light switch. Every time they bring down one of those boosters, they have to rebuild the thing over and over again because it's a used launcher. It has to be repaired. It has to be refueled. It has to be rechecked. It's not like it comes down, you reset it, and you launch it again 10 minutes later. That's... Oh, boy. Thank you, Jay Blizza. It's okay, Scribe. He talked this all over with Machine Elves. LMAO. They said it was a foolproof plan. I know. He went and said, okay, Gremlins, I promise you, if you don't mess with this thing, you'll get all the food you want after midnight, and you'll have a pool party. And they're like, yes, that'll be great. This is hurting my head just for how... Okay. Dexter has the right of it. So we're just skipping past the whole will the data center work thing. Yeah. So now he's making a SpaceX pitch. I mean, he's effectively giving the kind of speech that Elon Musk would in talking and playing up how SpaceX is going to be the reusable rocket launcher. Look, guys, it's reusable. That means it's an instantaneous turnaround for the next launch. And the costs will just drop significantly. And I'll agree, if you don't have to completely rebuild a booster, it will be cheaper than having to build a booster from scratch all the time. But that doesn't mean it's an instantaneous turnaround. It doesn't mean that every rocket launch is somehow without risk of exploding on the landing pad or the launch pad. If nothing of the last several SpaceX launches that we've seen over the last year or two have proven, it's that, I don't know what the average is. I'm sure somebody has the numbers out there, but it's not a 100% success rate. Okay?
So, for example, with the current launch vehicle Falcon 9, if you build a new one every day for a year, at the end of the year, you still only have one Falcon 9 upper stage because it's dispendable. Whereas with Starship, if you build a new one every day for a year, at the end of the year, you have 365 Starships because they're reusable.
As was said. Okay. So, tell you what. Just to be generous, because I'm feeling generous. Maybe it's the caffeine in the monster. Okay. let's just say I hand wave pixie dust magic stipulation. Okay, you have a consistent, reusable, unending stream of launches to take your stuff up into space. Okay. It's not possible right now. Might not be possible ever. It's not as simple as you make it sound, but let's just say that you had 365 launches up into space without issue. Okay. How are you going to build this thing in space? How are you going to effectively construct it? How are you going to effectively cool it? How are the sensitive chips in the data center going to survive outer space radiation? And how will you manage maintenance issues?
And it's not just SpaceX. There's new rockets coming from Blue Origin.
I don't care about the rockets now. We're not talking about the rockets. How are you going to make this work?
Space, Relativity Space, and Rocket Lab. Even if you have a pretty healthy dose of skepticism on their forecasts.
No. Like I said, I'm waving away all my skepticism on your grand promises of rocket availability and succession of launches. I'll give you all the launches you want. And that's where it stops. How is this data center going to be built in space and maintained?
The coming capacity is just mind-blowing and will be the real game changer.
So you say. Promises, promises, promises.
So this coming capacity reminded me, or got me thinking about the concepts from sci-fi that I remember reading about as a kid or as a teenager under the torchlight at night.
What are you talking? This guy is holding an empty sack. He is on a TED stage without restriction. I've said this in different ways before. No one's holding him back. This is his best pitch.
In the 1940s,
the 1940s.
Isaac Asimov first wrote about the idea of space-based solar, which is where you have a huge solar panel in space and then you somehow beam that power down.
Yeah, let's talk about getting the solar panels up there first before we talk about the function of it.
The problem with space-based solar, though, has always been that you lose most of the energy in transmission from space to Earth.
Well, yes, but this project isn't about transmitting energy, right? It's about transmitting information.
But with low-cost launch, we now have the ability to move things like data centers to space close to the energy source.
No. You have not moved a data center to space. You haven't even gotten close in this presentation to describing how you would move a data center, how it would even work in space, if there's even the possibility it could operate in space.
Consume the energy there and just beam down the results so we don't lose the energy in transmission.
I'm backing up a little bit because my exasperation cut him off in the middle of his snake oil.
We now have the ability to move things like data centers to space close to the energy source, to consume the energy there and just beam down the results so we don't lose the energy in transmission.
I tried, guys. I really tried.
What the fuck are you talking about?
What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? Right?
Nothing of what he just said made any sense. And you know what? If there's somebody in the audience who's far more tech savvy than I am, where that made complete sense to you, fair enough. But he's on a stage purportedly trying to pitch this to average folks, you know, and no. I'll play it one more time just for those in the cheap seats, but
with low-cost launch, we now have the ability to move things like data centers to space.
We have the ability to move data centers to space
close to the energy source.
Close to the energy source, the sun.
To consume the energy there and
To consume the energy there.
just beam down the results so we don't lose the energy in transmission.
How is that any different from Asimov's proposal that you just said? The ability to launch things into space does not change the nature of energy transmission. I know. Is that a controversial thing to say? To predicate a solution to the energy transmission problem with we're able to launch things into space more easily now. Weightless example, non sequitur. Weightless example, non sequitur. And here's the thing, and I want to give this caveat, and I'm being completely sincere. If I, as a layman, am completely off base in my critiques on this, or my baffledoms in this, by all means, either in the chat as we proceed, or if you're watching this in the future in the comments, correct me. I'm happy to be corrected. Because if he's just a nervous Nelly on the stage and not doing a very good job at, explaining things, well, that's on him. But it sounds like a whole bunch of mishmash to me.
I ran the numbers with my co-founders, Ezra Fielden and Adi Oltin.
Co-founders of what? Who are you? What do you do?
And we came to the conclusion that if the launch cost gets to around $500 a kilo, which is...
If
well within Starship launch prices, then the data centers in space will be economically viable.
Okay, and what's it going to take for that if to become yes?
So that's how the idea came about. But where does this $500 a kilo number come from? And
you know what? I don't know. I don't care. How do you maintain a data center in space if you don't even know if the chipset you're thinking about using will survive the radiation in space? How is this even why is this even a thing that you are contemplating if you don't know that the biggest showstopper of them all, can these sensitive chipsets survive in space, hasn't been proven out yet? No matter how much money you throw at it, you will not alter the laws of thermodynamics.
how is it that energy for data centers in space will be cheaper than on Earth?
I'm not even concerned about the costs. I'm concerned about the feasibility of just the construction and the maintenance of the thing. Like I said, even if I grant you all the shipping, even if I grant you all the money in the world, and then some, you haven't proven that it can work in the first place.
Well, let's run a comparison with a data center on Earth.
You can't, you cannot run a comparison to a data center on Earth with something that does not exist.
With a solar project on Earth to power a data center, because solar on Earth is the cheapest form of energy we have right now. So you have three big costs with a solar project on Earth. Number one is the cost of permitted land.
Oh, well, there's no land to worry about in space, guys.
This is actually the biggest cost, or can be the biggest cost, particularly in North America, where it's linked to the energy price. Number two, you have the cost of battery storage, because you need to charge the batteries during the day so that you have power at night.
Oh, well, because the thing will be up in space and we point at the sun the whole time, we'll never have to worry about batteries, guys.
And number three, you have the cost of the solar cells themselves. So how does that compare with a solar project in space?
I don't care. I don't care. I'm for the sake of argument, again, I'm giving you all the launches, I'm giving you all the money. Okay, fine. How do you build this thing? How do you maintain it? How do you cool it? How do you protect the chipsets from radiation over time? What do you do about maintenance?
Well, number one, on the plus side, we don't need permitted land. We don't need battery storage because we're 24/7 in the sun. And we need 6 times less solar cells, since 1 square meter of solar panel in space produces 6 times the energy of 1 square meter of solar panel on Earth.
Great. 4-kilometer square solar array. How?
But there's a few additional costs in space. So I mentioned we're going to need 6 times less solar, but there's one big cost, which is we need the launch cost.
I don't care about the launch cost. If you launch something into space that fundamentally cannot work, it doesn't matter what the launch cost is. Prove to me the thing could actually work, feasibly be built, feasibly be maintained first. Because launch cost is pointless if you can't prove out the thing's going to work in the first place.
The launch is to get the chips, solar panels, and radiators to space. But now
You are really, really obsessing about the launch vehicles and cost.
you can see very clearly that there is clearly a break-even point where the launch cost is below the cost of permitted land, batteries, and 6 times the solar.
This is functionally irrelevant. This is literally cart before the horse thinking.
And we see that launch cost to be around $500 a kilo, as I mentioned.
So you say. Academically, best case scenario. What if it's $700? What happens then?
Which is well within range.
What is the range? What's your red line? What are you talking about?
Of the Starship launch price. I'll finish with this.
You should finish with...
Earlier I mentioned the competition between nations for AI, and over the last few years we've seen rising tensions with the first hot war in Europe in generations.
None of this answers any of the necessary questions. No, you know, I had hopes that when he displayed the messages from people who saw that animation, I guess a year ago or whatever, that he was actually going to try to respond to their concerns and criticisms. Nope.
At its root, the biggest driver of large-scale war is competition for resources, and over the coming century, the biggest competition between nations will be for energy and water for data centers.
So you say.
Some of you might know that in 1945, the United Nations Charter was first signed in this very room, on this very stage where I'm standing right now.
This is the best he's got. This is it. Now we're getting a history lesson without any questions being answered.
Look at the curtains in this image and the chandeliers. They are
I'm circling weightless example non sequitur a second time. I should circle it about 3 or 4 times, but just to emphasize the point, I'm circling it a second time.
the same curtains that you will see. It happened in this room. We might take it for granted right now, but the United Nations has helped keep us safe since the Second World War until now. And as the grandchild...
Wait. The United Nations has done what? Okay. Just setting that statement aside for a moment. Why are we here? What is this?
Of 2 British World War II veterans, the words of the Charter, the promise of their generation to ours, still move me every time I think of them.
Oh, well, I'm so moved that you are moved. What does this have to do with constructing a data center in space? Oh, that's right, nothing. Because you've got nothing. This is filler. This is a dodge. This is a very, very lame attempt at some sort of emotional manipulation, hide and seek of the point. Dude.
We, the people of the United Nations, determined to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war, which twice in our lifetime has wrought untold sorrow to mankind.
And obviously, data centers in space, guys, solves war. by implication.
The most effective way that we can save our own children and grandchildren from the scourge of war
Won't somebody please think of the children?
will be to stop competing over the fundamentally finite resources of Earth and to start utilizing the near limitless energy of our solar system and eventually of our galaxy.
Yeah, I said at the top of the show, I remember TED Talks being like showcases for big ideas and cutting-edge revelations in science and technology and entertainment and design. Nope.
In a week's time, I'll be watching the first AI data center launch to space.
Really? It's already done? That was easy. Why did you need all this planning if it's already about to happen? Why do you need to make this pitch if it's already cut and dry? Just add water. What?
In 10 years' time, most new data centers will be being built in space.
I press X to doubt.
For the energy.
You know what? I'm going to make a modification for this one, and I know it's my show. Anecdote that probably never happened. Anecdote that probably will never happen. I'm circling that one. Because he's done absolutely nothing to convince me that any of this is feasible.
And who knows, maybe in 50 years' time, if I keep wearing my lucky underpants, we may have started work on a Dyson sphere to help harness the full power of our sun.
50 years, guys! That's all it's going to take for us to get to the point of making a Dyson sphere. I've seen Star Trek: The Next Generation. I remember the Dyson sphere. I also... the feasibility of a Dyson sphere. Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolute horse hockey. Utter and absolute horse hockey. Where does the school board find them, and why do they keep sending them to me? I make a cold, honest selection of a presentation that's not like giving me something in the title of, oh, how DEI can be saved, or we're going to build a new kind of a motorcycle out of dried out cow's blood or something. No, I go to a TED Talk about a science-y thing, completely cold. And I might as well have been watching a TEDx talk by some podunk high school teacher in, I don't know. I could name a town or something, but I don't even know. My brain is just off. Utter and absolute nonsense. And not even good nonsense. I mean, he didn't even sort of describe in 30,000 foot level terms how this would all work and just kind of hand wave the details. He didn't even go into that. Like I said, he gave me hope when he took time out to, give fair time to his critics, which is something that, a good persuasive essay does. You give your introduction, you give your body, your arguments and everything. You allow time for the opposite opinion or the naysayers or whatever, and then you defeat them, or attempt to defeat them, with, facts and figures and evidence to your argument's favor. And I thought, okay, well, at least he's, giving some time to the people that said, wait, this looks like nonsense. Which means that in any other situation, you would expect him to then follow that up with, well, here's how we do that. Or here's how we have a solution for that. No, we get a history lesson at the end about the UN signing. Okay. Data centers in space, non-starter. Absolute non-starter. He didn't, at the very least, he did, even though he said and made note of the fact and seemed to concede the argument about whatever that NVIDIA H100 or 150 or whatever the heck it is, surviving in space, that they were even going to have to test it to see if it could. Even after admitting that, he barreled on through as though it was just a given. If you don't even know if high-end chipsets can survive in space to operate, if you don't even know whether that's possible, if you don't know whether the chipsets are robust enough, if you don't know whether or not the shielding scheme you've come up with to protect them is going to cut it for the long term, I mean, presumably you're going to have these things up in space floating there for a long time. The idea is to have them reliably operating in perpetuity, right? Or with a lifespan of at least, 10, 15, 20 years or something. I would assume. Otherwise, why go to the effort and the expense? If you don't know if the vital components of your data center can survive in space long enough to make a difference, how can you possibly make these promises or these projections? And that energy beamed down to Earth, good golly. Anyway, I know I say this from time to time, but I really did. I really expected more from this one. I really, really did. I thought this would be relatively boring. No pun intended. Elon Musk, boring company. Anyway, let's move on to the bingo card and get on with the shoe. All right, so let me make sure this is all updated. And yeah, okay, so this is the card as I have it right now. I'm going to go over it one more time by myself. If you have arguments for squares to be circled, hold on to them. I'll get to you momentarily. Might be a relatively sparse card, but we'll see. Marginalize, marginalization. Not really. Self-vilification or wretchedness. I can't say vilification or wretchedness. I mean, he was self-deprecating, but I'm going to need something more than just making, self-deprecating jokes to qualify as self-vilification. Again, the standard bearer for that square is somebody coming up on the stage and telling everybody about white privilege and then confessing to their own skin color, adding to the problem. That kind of thing. I didn't get anything from that. Contradicts own point, fails to make argument. Boy, howdy. If the idea was to convince me that this was something worth investing in or that was even possible, utter failure. Feminism? No. Microaggressions or unconscious bias? No. Privilege? No. Benevolent condescension? To the critics? Yeah. Yeah. If this was, and he included it in the presentation, the comments from the critics, and this was his response. And his response was to just absolutely ignore them. To mention them, but to ignore them. Plays victim. I can't say that he did that. Collectivizes own demographic. He didn't really mention demographics. That's economic disparity. Yes, so the costs of launches in the olden days as compared to now with our instantaneous light switch flip reusable launch vehicles. Deceptive statistics. Every estimate he gave of the cost, of the time frame, of the whole 9 yards, and the mights, and the wills, and the maybes, and the ifs. Attempt to coin new buzzword, buzz phrase. I don't think he used anything that was a new buzzword or buzz phrase. He used terms that already existed, so. A list. Yes, he gave us a list of the cost comparison between terrestrial data centers versus the prospective space data centers. Mind reading assumes motives. I mean, I guess he thought everybody would buy this argument, but I don't know if that works for this. Not sure. Not sure. Patriarchy, no. DEI, philosophy, nothing came up. White supremacy, no. Childhood or family anecdote. Yeah, well, I mean, he he just brushed against it by talking about when he was a kid looking at science fiction things and so on. So that's, I mean, it counts. It was the barest of anecdotes, but it was there. Systemic or institutional? Not in the fashion that makes any sense here. Leaves out vital context. Boy, howdy. If ever there was a talk that left out vital context, I am hard-pressed to think of one.
Bingo!
What? Bingo! Yeah!
Of course! Of course!
And lastly, word salad. Yes. I probably should have circled it for that WTF moment, but yeah, it's there. All right, so I'm being honest. This really frustrates me. I picked out an actual science-based TED Talk, not a sociological one, not one where the title was something objectively goofy sounding as far as like, how we can make college math equitable for all or something, Okay. Anyway, Ted, you have disappointed me. You have disappointed yourself. What happened to you? I mean the joke at the top of the show about, the little segment before Prometheus with Wherein coming out in this stadium-sized audience with the floating cameras and giving this very dramatic speech about in a TED Talk of the future. I wish TED was something like that. I wish that people's curiosity and enthusiasm for actual scientific breakthroughs or possibilities and everything was something that we could all look forward to. And then I watched this. Captain JPS, how does the bloody thing work? I don't know. I still don't know. And he didn't bother to tell us. Advocatus, new buzzword, buzz phrase. Data centers in space, that is a new one. I mean, that really is the only option to go for here. The thing is, and this is why I hesitate, do I really want to credit this guy with coining that or coming up with that idea? Because he didn't come up with the idea. I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Meh. Anyway, the whole thing makes no sense because servers get old quickly, so you have to replace them. Right. Yeah. How do you deal with the aging out of relevance? Because if technology is doubling or whatever on Earth, and the data centers are effectively frozen in time for their capabilities, then yeah, I mean, what happens? You have to send a sysadmin up there in a rocket ship every 6 months to replace the servers? Or swap out the chipsets and, Wait, Scarlet, this is an actually... Yeah, no, this is a TED Talk. This is not a TEDx Talk. TED, no X, TED Talk. Yeah, this is on the main TED Talks page. This is not some community center put together TEDx branding... bring your best school essay. This is the thing. The Fink song. By the way, you ever listen to the song "This Is the Thing" by Fink? I have never done it. I should. But that song, if you listen to the lyrics alone, and you've seen the movie John Carpenter's The Thing, it works perfectly to make a music video using clips of The Thing to that song. I've had that idea for a couple of decades now. I've never done it. I wish I had, but I haven't. Probably because I'm always afraid of like copyright. If I actually did make that thing and post it somewhere, yeah, it'd probably get taken down pretty quick. I'd get in trouble. Alexander the Scourge. He is trying to puzzle out a problem. He needs to get other people's input to help him flesh out and make his idea more realistic. Well, we need to start from the basics. Can this work in space, period? And he said, and he showed a picture of like, well, we've got a little launch thing that we're going to put a chipset up there and see what happens to it. Well, that would be your first step amongst several other steps, but at least a very important step you should take before you even get to the point of pitching the idea that, oh, this is going to become the wave of the future. You don't even know if it can work yet. You don't even know if that's feasible. Let's see. Advocast Double. No, you would need a round-the-clock crew to perform maintenance. I don't disbelieve you. Like I say, I mean, just maintaining a basic server rack on Earth has people in our company that has to do it. They're not round the clock, but they have to, they have to keep an eye on it round the clock. Actual data centers, I'm assuming that like one of those, like the picture that he showed in the presentation, I'm assuming that data center has an army of people wandering around that place all day checking components and estimating things and flipping switches and all that. How can you replicate that in space? Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I am almost sure he wrote this script with ChatGPT. You know, it's funny you say that. I made the joke on Twitter last year or something. I said, we need something called ChatGPT, where everything you put into it comes out in the cadence and the style of William Shatner. And I tagged William Shatner in my tweet where I just made this joke. Hey, what about ChatGPT? And William Shatner responded to me. I even posted like a screen cap of it on the Discord. And I was like, oh, Captain Kirk has talked to me. And he pointed me to this kooky little AI thing where you can do a little interaction with video clips of William Shatner. You can say, hi, how you doing? And it's got pre-scripted responses from little video clips of William Shatner. I'm like, oh, that's funny. And then within half a day, he deleted his response to me, and then he blocked me on Twitter. For what? I didn't do anything. I'm still blocked by William Shatner to this day, and I have no idea why. I made a friendly little joke, and he responded, seemed to enjoy it, and then I'm suddenly the bad guy. I don't understand. Very disappointing. I was communicated with and then denied by Captain Kirk in the same day. Let's see. Yeah, but they would need to be there full time and probably a few groups of them just to be safe. Yeah, something as complex as what he's suggesting. I mean, even again, I've been hand waving a whole bunch of stuff. Hand wave all the delivery problems. Hand wave the cost. Hand wave the power delivery with the solar cells 4 kilometers square. I mean, he didn't like say that was just an estimate. So I assume the 4 kilometer square thing is still a thing. Anyway, hand wave all that. A data center equivalent to something that we have on Earth right now in space, but no staff, no people, just floating autonomously through space. Every time you come to a question of necessity of how this thing would work in space, it hits a brick wall. Yeah, and I think all the questions and wonderments I had before I started this thing have been not addressed or we've now brought up. So anyway, guys, all that being said, I think that takes it for the bingo card. This is not the usual fare of TEDXcellence, and that was intentional. And yet here we are, me being just as, if not more, frustrated at the result because it was a TED Talk. And it was supposed to be outside the usual wheelhouse into an actual science-based thing. And yeah, so we got a bingo out of it though. Hey, it's still possible. As always, of course, if you have arguments for squares not yet circled that didn't get talked about on this stream, you can always leave them in the comments below, or you can also, if you'd like, join the Discord server. Did I think to make a Discord server link before I started the show? No. But I can do that now. And I will then present you on the chat with a link to the Discord server. Click on that link, you'll find yourself on the landing channel called Say Hello. And in addition to saying hello, you just have to say the secret word. The secret word will tell me that you are not a bot, have watched the stream, and have thus earned the right, the privilege, the entitlement to join the Discord server. And today's secret word is Snake oil. Just say hello, snake oil, and I'll know that you watched this show. Beyond that, guys, let's see what else is going on. Well, Monday at 12:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time will be the next episode of DEI Death Watch, where I take a look at the downfall and the doubling down of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Somewhere in between, I might be having the inspiration to do a stream over the course of the weekend. We'll see. I might have some extra time or ideas in mind for that. But otherwise, I also recently did an interview with Mr. Black from One Crime TV about true crime and his recent documentary about the Jonesboro shooting back in the 90s, which he has a personal connection to. If you haven't seen that, please take a look at my channel. It should be the premiere video at the top of the screen when you get to my channel. Or if you know somebody who likes true crime and is interested in such things, share that with them. They might find it interesting as well. Let's see, anything else for the good of the business, so to speak, before we move on? Exhumed legume. Exhumed legume. Exhumed legume. I got there eventually. Exhumed legume. Peanut. Maybe snake oil could work as coolant for the space data centers. There you go. Can snake oil survive in space? Next time on TED Talks. I guess we'll find out. Everyone, thank you so much for joining me. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things, even though everyone here is so well behaved. You have very, very little to do. Everybody who donated either to myself or guys at the top of the chat box, there's a GoFundMe link to our friend Truckin' with the Tablet's medical expenses. Please take a look at that when you have the opportunity. If you can donate, thank you. Even if you can't, if you can share that out on social media, that would be appreciated. Elsewise, everybody, hope you have a good rest of your Thursday. Hope you have a good Friday ahead of you. Hope you have a good weekend as well. I hope you're all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.